What's up, squad? It's Brandon from the Bantu Sun. Thank you so much for joining me today. So, in the 12th, 13th century, a sport arose primarily in the UK called bear baiting. And it's a brutal sport indeed. The sport, for lack of better phrasing, involved what would be a bear, usually attacked by dogs. And it was a vicious sport, of course, but the way the sport would work is sometimes the bear was tied up or let loose, and people would train these dogs to be able to take out this bear. And of course, neither one of these dogs, none of the dogs in their own right, were as powerful or strong enough to take down a bear. But over the duration of this trial, the dogs will wear down the bear to officially defeat it upon its exhaustion. It was almost a trial of strength and stamina, which symbolized the game. And it became pretty infamous throughout Eurasia, but it eventually died down because of its brutal nature. When I look at the West strategy upon Russia and China, it's striking similarities. This concept of this massive beast that is being strategically positioned to take on numerous dogs of war. In Russia, you have those dogs of war being NATO, a series of a hostile nature surrounding the periphery of Russia, whether that's in the Baltics, Central Europe, or the Balkans, or better yet, even Ukraine right now with the ongoing war that's occurring. And in China, it's a little distinctly different. It's these island nations. I don't know if you've saw recently President Biden, and say what you want about Biden's regime. One thing you won't say with the establishment that they are is that they are foreign policy slouches. Everyone from President Biden himself, Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan, Secretary of Defense Lloyd Austin, Deputy Secretary of State Victoria Nuland. All of these people have become household names. They're walking and chewing gum. They're trying to deal with Niger. They're trying to mend relationships in Indonesia, trying to bring about normalization of relationships between Israel and Saudi Arabia. And recently, there was a meeting or a retreat with President Biden, President Yo of South Korea, and PM Kishida, Prime Minister Kishida of Japan at Camp David. So Camp David is usually the presidential getaway spot. It's usually meant as a relaxation or retreat type place to go there amongst friends and really hammer out really difficult negotiations, whether that's between Israel and Palestine, around World War II, with basically apportioning the lots of victory after World War II. So Camp David had this almost mythological history. Nevertheless, this trilateral relationship has been heavily fed and fueled by the United States. If you think about the relationship these countries had, especially after World War II, South Korea hating Japan because Japan used South Korea as a lily pad to leverage itself into East Asia. Japan hating America because of the atomic bombs in America, hating Japan, of course, because of Pearl Harbor. This contentious relationship between these three people in a way that America has been able to guide this relationship to the current state and build an alliance really shows you that the great power of the West isn't itself power per se. Now, don't get me wrong, America is one of the most powerful countries in this world, and it has a lot of honey and vinegar to offer people to assuage them one way or another. But the ability to do so with and not hold grudges and to be able to make allies out of enemies, I think is one of the most powerful tools any leadership can have. And when you look at this in this contentious relationship, and you compare this to what's going on right now in West Africa, which appears to be completely dysfunctional, right? You have all these neighbors, similar histories, similar groups across borders, and they can't even get on accord. And then you have the U.S. taking this antagonistic relationship at the end of World War II and building strong alliances. Now, the Asian model is going to be different from the European model, of course, with this idea of strategy. Of course, with Europe, you're dealing with a land neighbor in Russia, and you have a mutual defense pact in NATO, something which do not exist in East Asia, at least at this point. But in East Asia, you're seeing the bedrocks, the small stepping stones to get the West a stronger foothold to deal with China. This strategy is going to be really interesting, especially as I start to see over time what play out. I think these East Asian nations of South Korea and Japan, uh, they do have demographic issues, but so do China, but not to the degree. These are much smaller populations. I do think that Southeast Asian nations are really going to be consequential in the Asian periphery as well. Malaysia is going to be a game changer. Indonesia is going to be a game changer. Of course, both these countries flank the Straits of Malacca, which is so pivotal to the resource or energy poor regions of East Asia that rely on the Middle East to get its resources. But from the strategical point of view, you have to respect the ability of the West to influence. And if it's one skill that I think is it's just absolutely important for any greatness in this world or a significant degree of excellence, it's influence. The study and understanding of people, of how to build relationships, work cooperatively, and see the world through someone's eyes. This is highly underrated. Now, this bear baiting strategy, I did see it before with France and Germany, where France was making allies with Central European states to try to offset Germany in World War I, World War II to disastrous consequences. But America is using this with countries that are technologically superior, which those countries weren't to Germany. America is trying to remain technologically superior and put a lot of weight on their ability to keep the ball away from China from a technological point of view. Now, will this strategy be successful? Who knows? But it's definitely something I got my eye on. And I think it's going to tell who's going to get the leverage in this century. Those are my thoughts. I love to hear yours. Please comment below. Like, share, subscribe if you enjoy the content. Until next time, Bantu up.